Next up, in the light heavyweight division, we got Tokkos coming in at plus 170, going up against Ivan Erslan, who comes in at minus 200. Now, I went pretty big on Tokkos last time around as he pulled off the submission victory over Junior Tafa. Now, that was a fight where I'm very glad that he knew what the assignment was. This guy's a BJJ black belt, but he's often gone out there and leaned more so on his striking than he should, and that's often caused him to get knocked out or just get completely outworked by a lot of his opponents. But when he goes out there and wrestles and has as much of a grappling edge as he had over Junior Tafa, that's where we can see Tokkos at his best. But even then, he struggled, right? There were a few moments where he got shook off and seemed like his body language was not that great. His gas tank looked very, very bad. Luckily, Junior Tafa's looked just as bad, and we saw Tokkos really take advantage of that in the second round to eventually pull off the submission there. So good work from Tokkos in terms of sticking to the game plan and eventually finding that position to get the finish. But I think he's a fringe UFC guy. He's 35 years old. He's kind of choked in a lot of these big positions that he's been put in. Thankfully, he was able to get that first UFC win over Junior Tafa, but I'm not sure how many more wins he can find himself getting. He's a close training partner and friend of Brendan Allen, which is why you often see them in each other's corners. But I believe Brendan Allen is a far better fighter, right? I think he's a much better striker. I think his BJJ is more dangerous. Obviously, has a ton more experience. But I don't know why I'm getting off on a tangent about Brendan freaking Allen of all people. But again, Tokkos, again, a good might be a stretch. A decent fighter, light heavyweight, obviously very thin as well, so he could definitely make a name for himself if he's able to get some momentum here. But I think he has a very, very tough matchup here as he goes up against Ivan Erslan. Now, Erslan is now 0-3 since joining the UFC. This guy used to fight for KSW, a couple other promotions over there in Europe. When he's won, especially his last 8 wins, they've all come by first-round finish, and a lot of that coming thanks to his power. This guy has nasty, nasty knockout power. He often just stalks his opponents, waits for the opportunity, and then lets go with a lot of big shots. But it hasn't worked out for him in the UFC. Very close fight against Iwan Cutelaba. I think that went to a split. Then he had that fight against Navajo Sterling where he was completely outworked in that fight. We even saw Sterling get to his grappling and have a lot of success there. Then last time, against Jimmy Crute, we saw Erslan get put in some bad positions early. He worked out a lot of those, and then eventually it seemed like this scrambling caused him a lot of issues, especially to his gas tank. And then when Jimmy Crute was able to assert whatever that choke was, it wasn't a rear naked choke. It was like he was just trying to pull Erslan's head off, and Erslan kind of just panic tapped. And that's just way too big of a red flag for me, especially considering how good his defensive grappling looked leading up to that finish. I was impressed. I thought if Jimmy Crute was going to be able to get that fight to the ground, it was going to be a wrap almost instantaneously. But we saw great defense from Erslan up until he got stuck in that choke. And it wasn't even like he was stuck. It didn't even look like Crute had it deep. I thought he was just more so just pulling rather than actually choking. And Erslan was still forced to tap there. So not a great look in that aspect. This is a guy, once he joined the UFC, it looks like he had moved over to the Coconut Creek location of American Top Team. But after that first fight, it looks like he's more so interested himself at the Zagreb branch of American Top Team alongside former UFC fighter Darko Stosic. You got to respect his power. You got to respect his experience, but his grappling is definitely a hole that fighters will be targeting. And I guess that's what Tokkos is going to be targeting this weekend as he looks to hand Erslan his 4th straight defeat. The issue I have, though, I think Erslan has better defensive grappling than Junior Tafa, albeit not by a lot. But I think that difference in defensive grappling will be enough for Erslan to get out of those bad spots from Tokkos. I think that eventually leads to Erslan pounding out Tokkos, and I think the power from Erslan will end up being too much for Tokkos. So, with that said, even at minus 200, though, I don't feel confident, especially with how Erslan ended up going out against Jimmy Crute. I know Crute is a more dangerous submission specialist than Tokkos, but again, one minor mistake from Erslan, he exerts a little bit too much energy, and Tokkos catches him in something soft again. It would not surprise me if he ended up tapping out, so that's why I can't trust him at minus 200. What I do like is the under 2.5. I think no matter who ends up winning, wins by their form of finish, right? Whether it's Erslan by knockout or Tokkos by submission, I like the under 2.5 most in this matchup, but I'm still going to go Ivan Erslan and Erslan by knockout.